In this video, we are going to look at a Python library which is called as eli5. So eli5 helps us interpret our machine learning models, and we are going to use this library on a Kaggle problem, which is the heart attack analysis and prediction. So if you look at the data set, you can see it is a classification problem where we are predicting the chances of an heart attack. So if there are less chances, the output is 0. If there are more chances, the output is 1. And we are doing so based on the features provided to us. I have used the xgboost algorithm to do the training and prediction, and later I have used eli5 to interpret the model, basically interpret the predictions. So let's go through the code once. So here I'm just looking at the columns and the data. So the shape, so there are 303 rows and 14 columns. All right, and if you look at the data, the data type is int and float altogether. And also we do not have any null values in the data set. So we are good to go and train our model. So I'm storing my output in the y variable and the training data set into the train variable. Then I'm splitting my data set into train and test. All right, with 80% as my training set and 20% as my test data set. Then I'm using the xgboost classifier from sklearn, and I'm training my dataset using this xgboost library. All right, so I'm using the default features of this classifier, but you can go ahead and use grid search to get the best parameters, best values for these parameters to increase your model accuracy. So if I just go ahead with the basic and default parameters or features of the XGBoost classifier, then you can see I can have an accuracy of 82%. So the classification report gives you the entire evaluation metrics, so precision, recall, F1 score, and everything. So the accuracy is 82 with the default XGBoost parameters. All right. Now let's look at the eli5 model explainability and the interpretation part. So to import the library, we simply use import statement, and later on I'll tell you why we are using formatters. So import this as well as import display. So these two things I'll tell you later on. So eli5 comes with a set of functions which you can see in the documentation as well. So if you go to the documentation and look at the xgboost section, so here you can see you have two functions, explain weights and explain predictions. So these are the two things that we are going to look at now. All right. So if you look at the explain weights function, so what you need to do is you need to pass the xgboost model variable that you trained or created, the object that you created, and you have to pass the features also. So basically the features are your columns in your data set. And then third parameter is the information type. So there are three information type that you have. One is gain, the other is cover, and the third one is weight, and the default is gain. So each type has its own purpose. So gain is the average gain of the feature, and weight is the number of times the feature is used to split, and the cover is the average coverage of the feature. All right. So if you look at the default parameters, so at the default parameters you can see the importance type is gain. All right. So I've kept gain as my importance type here. All right. So if you do this and you run your cell here, you get this output which gives you the column name and the weights with each column. All right. So this is how you can explain the feature importance of your data. So if you see CP, the column name CP has the maximum weight. All right, that is 0.19. So if you look at the data set, you will know what CP is. So CP is chest pain, and that there are four types of chest pain that they had mentioned in the data set. Similarly, you have other features also and the corresponding weights. Now, as I said, you are importing formatters also. So if you see, this is like an image. But what if you want this as a data frame? So if you want this as a data frame, you need to format it. So to format it, you import this, and then you simply say formatters dot has data frame and dot explain weights. So you get this as a data frame now. The same thing. This is the same thing. Just now it is a data frame. Great. So next what we look at is the show prediction. So basically we are going to explain why our prediction was 0 or 1 on each of the row. All right. So we have the test data set with us, and so what I'm doing here is now I'm printing all the test data predictions. All right. So these are all the predictions for, so the first one that you see, the prediction is y equal to 0. Now this is for the first row of your test data set. So x test of 0, since I'm looping it over the length of the x test data set. All right. So when I is equal to 0, the output is, the prediction is y equal to 0. And why it is y equal to 0, you can see the weight contribution of each of the feature that is given, that contributes, that says that your output is y equal to 0. All right. So this is how you can do for all the rows in your testing data set, right? So that is why we are looping it. Okay. So if you say show features value, then this column will be seen over here. So if you don't, so if this is false, show feature value is equal to false, you won't have the third column, you will have only the first two columns, right? And if you pass the features, you can get the column names here. So if you don't have the column names here, it will be f1, f2, f3. It will be like this, and it won't be the name of the column, right? So you can do the, you can explain each of your predictions based on this show prediction or explain prediction function, right? So if you so these are all the predictions, and the reason why it predicted 1 or why it predicted 0, right, with each of the features giving its importance and contribution to it. So if you similarly like before, if you want this as a data frame, what you can do is, we have already imported formatters, so you can simply say eli5.formatters.has data frame and then use explain prediction underscore df. So if you do this, then you can get the entire output as a data frame, right? So if you, and then you need to add another parameter, that is the target names, which is 0 and 1, right? So in this particular data frame, you see the output is 0, which is the target, and why it was 0, so this is the output, this is the contribution by each of the columns, right? So this is what we have done for all the rows, right? And that is each of the predictions. So this allows you to understand how your model is behaving based on the column that you have, right? So you can decide which columns to drop, like which of these columns are actually contributing and predicting in a good way. So if you see, the probability was 72 for this particular row, and the answer was y equal to 1, right? So if you have a low probability, maybe you can change your model, get different parameters, and train your model again and test it. So this is how the eli5 library helps us understand the model and the predictions. All right. So this is what I wanted to show you in this video. If you like a content, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.